Yes, Chair, Mr. Ray Johnson.
Mr. Johnson.
Good evening. There are real problems with this minor change that make an addendum inappropriate. This project was designed, the original drainage study and the original plans, and I put a copy of the plans, original plans, in your the comment letter that I sent out, were designed to dump into a 72-inch culvert at the south of the project. That culvert goes under the freeway. It then discharges into, and I don't really know what the name of the creek is, but it's a defined channel that goes down around Baxter and southwesterly from there. The problem is that this minor change doesn't do that anymore. With this minor change, the project water goes west through well, originally it was supposed to go into a 48-inch that went into the freeway. Now it's proposing to go into a 60-inch on the north side of Bundy Canyon and divert the water from the Sitka Line F into that as well. The problem is that water, once it gets on the other side of Orange Street, basically that, along with several other drainages to the north, dump into the flat vacant land to the east of the high school. So you have a number of drainage pipes that are draining into that land to the east of the high school. Unfortunately, the drainage line under the high school is an 18-inch drainage line. The addendum that was done, there was some analysis that said, yes, the pipe can handle the additional flow, but that was only whether or not the pipe can handle it. There was no discussion of what happens once it gets out of that pipe and discharges into the land east of the high school, which floods it. I think based on the changes that were made, this project no longer goes into the 72-inch that it was supposed to. It now dumps into the land east of the high school. I think that the developer and the city are probably liable for the damages that have occurred there because the project was not built as it was designed. And because of those changes, you have to analyze those changes in a new mitigated negative declaration. An addendum simply won't do it. It's just, you can't go from a 72-inch that goes into a defined channel and instead just dump it into a 60-inch that goes in and dumps out in front of the high school and floods the high school. That has to be evaluated. Thank you.
I apologize for my attire. I was in the field all day. My name is Andrew Coltavari. I'm the civil engineer for the project and have been for the past 6-7 years going on. I think I'd like to clarify the first misconception. This project is not contributing to any water into the 48-inch storm drain. All our water is drained southerly. It can be self-contained. It's going to be underground. We have the BMPs, we have the basins, we have the mitigating measures already in design that it will only address the water that is on the 6-acre site. Any runoff water is strictly runoff water. We are not contributing to the 48-inch line. Whether that 48-inch line goes easterly or southeasterly, the amount of water which is going through there is the same amount of water that will always be going through there and has been going through there ever since the Sitka F line has been constructed. Mr. York can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but there's an existing flood control basin up on top. The F line comes down, there's a 90-degree bend over on Sellers, and it discharges into an area that's basically no longer maintained or is not maintained by anybody. And so consequently, what we're having is the erosion and so forth. But just to clarify again, because I've heard numerous times this evening that this project is contributing. We are not contributing any water. This site is independent of the 48-inch line. And to address the previous speaker, the design of that 48-inch line is nothing more than to carry the F line, the Sitka line. We are not, that is the purpose of the line, that is what it's designed for. The queue and the size is nothing more than to carry the same amount of water, which is now currently flowing through Bundy Canyon and discharging wherever it goes. So we are not, again, this project is not contributing to the water. The Setco line is going to be extended, and whether it goes down below on the southerly portion or whether it's maintained on the northerly portion, it's going to be the same amount of water going to the same site, flooding the same areas. Now, as far as the relocation is that neither the city nor we were ever advised that a Verizon main duct, which is about 7 feet deep, was constructed about 6 feet into the ground. And in order for us to go ahead and take project the 48-inch line and take it down to the originally proposed one, the line would have gone down at least 20, 25 feet. Now just imagine at the intersection of Sellers and at Bundy, and when you're doing that, you just don't dig a 25-foot trench. You know, that's going to be a 48-inch line. That's inside dimension. You also have the width, then you have the shoring, then you have everything else that's coming out. So you're going to basically have almost like 40 feet of a trench open, 25 feet down. Bundy Canyon is going to be closed during the construction. I mean, totally closed. They're not going to, you can't. So where's the traffic going to go? So we met with Mr. York, we met with flood control, and we did preliminary designs, and we came up with the alternative. And basically I just wanted to emphasize that we are doing nothing more than carrying the northerly portion of the tributary area and discharging it down into the southwesterly portion.
You know, there's actually another piece of history that you didn't share, Jack, is when you go back to line F, prior to this project, the intention had always been for Sellers line to actually turn right and run along the existing ditch location. That was flood control's original plan. They chose not to do that because the line that runs through on the west side of the freeway, just south of Bundy and crosses Orange, that line hadn't been constructed yet. The school district came forward, worked with Riverside County Flood Control and put that line in as part of line F. That line is now in. That's a 60-inch line. At the time this project was conditioned, that project, although it was designed, was not built and it was not accepted. It was recently accepted by the school district, transferred back over to Riverside County Flood Control, and then we relinquished those easement rights back to flood control. So that's part of the reason why that line did not run along the north side. The second thing that had happened was because those lines weren't in at the time, and Jack is, or Andrew is correct, that the water that comes off of Sellers has nothing to do with their site. It was a condition of their development to provide for that. There was a 24-inch that cuts across the road, and that was to protect their property, allow them to build phase one, and that's why they built those big detention ponds, was to handle some of that flow that comes off of Sellers so that they're able to move forward with phase one. So that's another part of that drainage snafu. And there's quite a bit more I could share with you on line F, going from Lake Elsinore all the way up. I'll be willing to entertain those questions later on and tell you the status of where we're at with Riverside County Flood Control to address those drainage concerns.
Thank you, Mr. York. Sir, you make it.
I'm sorry?
You can continue.
All right, well, and thank you, Dan, for adding that bit of information, but just once again to reiterate, this project is not contributing to any downstream runoff because it's self-contained.
Thank you.
And also, to answer Joe's question, the 40-inch line was not designed to handle any upstream water. And in fact, with the new current water quality regulations, he's going to have to maintain quite a bit of his water on site and retain it in detention basins or some aquifer or some sort of modular wetlands that that has to be designed. Any questions of you?
Commissioners?
If I might, I want to just clarify another thing. I think this is very difficult for folks that don't do engineering every day. There's been some comparisons of a 48-inch line and a 72-inch line and a 36-inch line. Understand that the 48-inch line that's running along North Bundy is actually a very steep line. It's got a lot of slope. The line that was going to come across Bundy from Sellers was extremely flat. That was the only way they could get it in there. And so because it was so flat, you didn't have the velocity, it had to be a 72-inch line. So the amount of capacity is no different in the 48-inch line versus the 72-inch line because one was flat and the other one was steep. It's the same amount of flow.
Thank you, Mr. York. Commissioners, any questions of the applicant and the engineer?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're not here to discuss the proposed project that's been talked about before. We're talking about amendments tonight, so. Okay, then I am going to close the public hearing at this time and ask commissioners if you have any.
I have a question. I have a question for the engineer, for our city engineer. And I am curious that, I want to make sure I phrase this correctly. This project, by making this minor change in this phasing, will it result in any additional flow of water that goes to Elsinore High School?
No.
Commissioners, any other questions of staff or applicant? None? Okay, I'm going to ask our attorney if she would comment on what's going on here tonight.
Well, I would just like to reiterate what Matt noted earlier. You all have received a comment letter that was provided by Mr. Johnson just moments before the meeting started. I've tried to look at the letter during the meeting, but I haven't really had the opportunity to fully analyze it. So normally in that type of situation, from the city attorney's office, our recommendation would be to continue the item. However, that whether you want to heed that recommendation is entirely up to the commission.
Thank you. I think under the circumstances, I would entertain a motion to continue this item to a later hearing. Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, if the commission is going to make that recommendation, we would recommend that we continue it to the next planning commission meeting in November, which I think is the 5th. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but I want to continue to a date specific so we don't have to re-advertise.
Okay. Now, keep in mind, Commissioner, we can act on this tonight and then deal with the issues at a later date. Based on what I've heard,
I'd rather act on this evening if we had a quorum with that opinion.
Mr. Chair, if I could add something too real quick.
Yes.
Procedurally, if the commission does approve this tonight, we will be sending a receive and file report to the city council next Wednesday on the 8th. That's the procedures outlined in our subdivision ordinance for parcel maps and tract maps. At that time, according to our subdivision ordinance, there's a 10-day appeal period after that time, where that can then come back to the council at a full public hearing de novo and so on and so forth. So those are kind of the two options for you tonight.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Commissioner Swan, would you care to elaborate on your thoughts?
I look at this minor change as a benefit to the city and as a benefit to the applicant, the public at large. And because of a document dump, I don't believe that we should continue this for 30 days, which would put the process out even further, 40, maybe 60 days. This is plain and simple a document dump and was intended to stop the ball. I feel pretty secure that I've read the document to a point of making it has information in it. I asked the pertinent question of the city engineer, and I feel as though we can move forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Swan. I tend to agree with you. Based on the testimony I heard here tonight from the engineering and our own engineer, this is a minor change to accommodate a location of a line and has nothing to do whatsoever with essentially the approval of the project. The project's been approved, and this is an accommodation mainly for a construction modification. So I agree with you. Other Commissioner Langworthy?
I just am looking at this document that we've just received tonight that, on behalf of Alliance for Intelligent Planning and Concerned Area Residents, I appreciate that Mr. Johnson is here tonight to speak rather than just having it dumped off at the last minute. And I think he was very eloquent. I think that his points were addressed by the professional civil engineer from the project and also from the city. Again, I think for this document to be left at the last minute is specifically to hold up the applicant's right to a timely process. I would encourage Mr. Johnson to bring concerns ahead of time to the city instead of at the last minute, so that we would have time to read them and consider them. But I am thankful that you're here tonight and have expressed those concerns, and hope that your verbal presentation really is what this is about. So my question, I guess, does your verbal, can I ask that, does the verbal presentation really present, or no? No,
The
can't.
public hearing's
So-
closed at this
So the
point.
public hearing's closed, so that's, yeah, I don't, yeah,
Okay.
it's just not a good protocol to follow.
Thank you, Commissioner Langworthy. Commissioner Bidwell, would you like to add anything?
I just would like to add, I think we do need to vote on it tonight and get past it.
Okay, I will entertain a motion. We have 3 items. The first one is PC Resolution number 14-16. I'll entertain a motion to adopt that resolution.
Make a motion to adopt the PC Resolution 1416.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a second. So we have a motion and a second. Commissioners, any other comments before I call for the vote? Commissioner Langworthy,
Aye.
Commissioner Swan,
Aye.
Commissioner Bidwell,
Aye.
and I also aye. Mr. Garcia, the motion passed 4-0-0. Okay, next item, number 2, is to adopt PC Resolution number 14-17. I will entertain a motion to adopt that resolution. I will make that motion to adopt PC Resolution number 14-17. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. Commissioners, questions, thoughts, comments? I'll call for the vote. Commissioner Langworthy,
Aye.
Commissioner Swan,
Aye.
Commissioner Bidwell,
Aye.
and I also aye. Mr. Garcia, the motion passed 4-0-0.